I don't know if everyone can make it to Challenger, but I know for a fact anybody can make it to Masters. Welcome to today's video where we're going to cover the topic of recall timing and its importance. It is very, very important because it essentially means how effective you are at turning your current lead into a bigger lead. If you guys don't know, my name is WillieP and I maintain Masters 100% of the time, and every now and then on our high-elo pushes we crack into Grandmasters and Challenger. As always, if you find yourself disagreeing, could you do me a huge favor and just tell me in the comment section where you disagree and why, or how I can improve the video? If you dislike the video or hurt me more than it helps you, let's jump in. This video will be broken down into 3 sections: laner recall timing, jungler recall timing, and then just mutually response to everybody recall timing. Before we get into our 3 sections here, laners, junglers, then everybody, I do just want to give a brief overview of why recall timing is important. Most people will tell you in high elo, especially if you are above 1,000 gold and you are not spending it, you are a noob. If the enemy team, regardless of if you're 2,000 gold ahead, has spent their gold and you have not, it's almost as if you didn't do anything for the past 5 minutes. Sure, as we talked about in our last video with carrying, experience might be enough to get you through the fight if you've got an XP lead because you are tempoing. But if the enemy champion went and spent their gold and you didn't, you will get stat checked and die almost immediately. As it pertains to resource management, if you are too low on health, you have to go heal, guys. I am so tired of seeing low elo players, diamond, low master, even grandmaster players truly refuse to go back to base when they're below a certain threshold. I'll tell you, as a jungler, it's blood in the water when we see champions below 40% health. We literally drop everything we're doing and hone like a honing missile in on that lane. If you are putting yourself in the position of being below 40 and 30% health with minion waves crashing in, you are asking to get dove. You either need to communicate this clearly to your jungler and team and set up a TP protection or a jungler come counter gank situation, or you just need to literally recall. By recalling and giving a minion wave and not dying to a turret dive, you can literally win the game as an ADC bot lane duo. And even though that might sound counterintuitive, that is literally how important it is to think about, A, when you're too low on health, that, again, you're probably going to die and you should just give up a minion wave. It's okay. You'll recover it later. So the first thing as a general principle on when you can consider to recall is actually during canyon waves. Canyon minions, if you don't know, soak a bunch of minions. So if we fast forward this minion wave, eventually what we'll see is this minion is going to crash into this tower. So if you had reset, let's say 20 seconds ago, knowing that a canyon minion was coming, and you're walking back to lane, instead of missing 5 to 6 minions, you're only missing a big canyon. While that is devastating, this turret soaking principle of canyon minion waves means that in general, if you need a recall and you're low on health and mana, you can just quickly check the minion wave that's coming in, and if it's a canyon wave, great. Clear this wave, finish clearing it, and then press recall, and you know, since it's a canyon wave, if the enemy laner crashes it in, your canyon will soak a bunch of turret shots. Secondly, this one might sound obvious. If you take teleport in lane and your teleport is up, teleport's a cheat code. All you have to do is literally recall and just teleport straight back, and this is one of the best times to just recall, go back, get your health back, and reset. Thirdly, this one is kind of a general principle, but specifically for laners, it is really important when you're laning to go back and get your item component. Almost every item component in the game is super, super good. A lot of people build items like Lost Chapter, which will restore their mana and essentially turn them into an endless poke bot. If you have enough gold for an item component, needless to say, you should heavily think about when to recall, either on one of these canyon minion waves we talked about or during other moments in the game we'll get into in a second. On the topic of item components, keep in mind by components, I mean, you know, these sub pieces, even a blasting wand is always worth going back. If you ever have enough gold to upgrade to an item spikes are one of the craziest moments in the game for any champion, regardless of who you're playing. Oftentimes, weird builds will beat meta builds simply because they get their item spikes first. The 5th time laners always have to think about when to recall is, of course, if you're low on health or mana, yeah, you're going to need a recall, but needless to say, if you get too low on health and too low on mana, and you know the enemy laner is well within their kill threshold for you, just reset, guys. Don't waste your XP and gold on a silly little minion wave that you can easily recover later in the game. And then finally, for my laners, this is kind of a hard one to predict, but we'll have all sorts of macro videos getting into how to read these situations. But if you know a dive is incoming, and let's say, you know, your jungler just did dragon, you're the top laner, and the enemy jungler was nowhere to be found bot side, and you're low on health and a super wave wave is crashing in, meaning it's one of these waves where there's just a bunch of minions stacked up. Yeah, you're about to get dove. It is your responsibility to think about these type of things and back off and just recall and go back to base, walk back to lane. You're going to miss 4 to 5 minions, but you're not going to miss the entire thing, die, and lose your entire tower. And you'll buy your jungler. Hopefully, if they're smart enough, you'll be pinging spam assistance. They're about to dive me, so your jungler can reset and walk with you topside, and nobody dies, and everybody's happy because we just got a dragon, and you traded 5 minions, but you're about gold value, 100 gold, 100 to 30 gold, depending on the minion, for an 1800 gold dragon if it's something like Hextech Dragon. If you've never crunched the numbers, a Hextech Dragon is worth 1800 gold for the team. I think the 100 gold versus 1800 gold, we can all agree in a 5v5 team game is probably a good thing to trade for. Alright, this one's my favorite topic is junglers, because obviously I'm a jungler. As we just mentioned, if there is a dive coming in, and you know for a fact a super wave is coming in, you just stayed bot side for too long and your top laner really needs your help. If you're against an enemy champion that always passes bot lane, like Hecarim for instance, almost always pass bot lane, you need to recall if you're on the wrong side of the map. Let's say we're doing Rift Herald, we just did Rift Herald, and you've got topside camps up. If you are doing your topside camps after you just gave the enemy Hecarim, who we know tends to pass bot, a Rift Herald notification, you are trolling. You need to recall and go straight bot lane to protect your bot lane from the dive. This principle doesn't really apply to laners, which is why I saved it for the jungle section. There's a general rule of thumb with junglers. You recall when you're about to go defend or attack something. In other words, keep farming and keep tempoing the jungle as long as you're not going to PvP and fight anybody for anything, including objectives. So like if you know the objective is completely free in the enemy jungle's bot side, you can do the top side objective without spending gold. But if you think it's going to be contested or attacking or defending or anything, yes, go back to base immediately. And if you guys just don't know, 30 seconds, we'll get into this in a second. Recall 30 seconds before the objective, spend your gold, and you'll make it to river on time. And that's much better than jeopardizing the gold versus not gold difference that we talked about earlier, where, if you don't spend your gold, they could literally be a whole item ahead of you regardless of how well you're playing. And then finally, as it specifically pertains to junglers, certain items in this game are super tempo items. If you've seen my 10 CS per minute video, you know that any item that gives you both damage and movement speed is a super tempo item. So think of items like Lichbane, Ghostblade kind of falls under this category. I think Storm Surge kind of falls under this category. If you have any of these items or you're building any of these movement speed tempo components, go back to base as soon as you can get them, because they will literally snowball you out of control. Jungle is literally a game of every second matters, and if you're building these tempo items, part of the reason why they're high win rate is because if you get them right on tempo, you will snowball naturally. Our final category of all, this is our general responsibilities that every role and assignment, including jungle, including lane, including support, everybody involved needs to think about when to recall just in general in League of Legends. Number 1, 30 seconds before dragon or an objective or anything. If you press tab, you can easily see when things are spawning at the top of your screen. As soon as that clock hits 30 seconds, you need to hit recall immediately if you want to have any chance of going back to base, cashing in all that hard-earned gold you had, and running back, making it on time to the objective. Anytime less than 30 seconds, you're probably not going to make it unless you're building a bunch of movement speed or there's Hextech portals and stuff like that. Number 2, this is a general rule of thumb, especially my higher elo crowd that's in Diamond. If you see 2+ teammates resetting, especially in multiple lanes, reset with them, and the reason why is because as a team, if you think about it, if you all go back and spend gold, if a fight were to break out on this side of the map, everybody on your team has spent gold, and you can set up kind of one of those super power plays, because the odds are the enemy team will not think to sync up their backs as well. You know, like if Jimmy John down here shows up without spending his gold, but the mid has, that is a huge swing for your team, and you can almost win a 3v3 off that alone. There's a principle in jungle that I think can also get applied to lanes called dead time, meaning for junglers, if all your jungle camps are down and you have nothing to do and like all the objectives are taken, my laners, if you're just brainlessly crashing in waves and you've got a full 10 to 15 seconds because your wave clear gets so fast, this is called dead time. Literally one of the best plays during dead time. If you can't find a high percentage kill play or a roam opportunity or an objective, recall and spend gold. That is a huge tempo play in of itself. Go back to base, spend gold, and then run back back before the next minion wave shows up and hits the tower. And then finally, as just a general broad category, most coaches will tell you this, and it's really, really important to always remember this principle of League. The best time to recall is right after killing somebody. Now, of course, you want to take objectives and towers if you can first, but if you recall immediately after, by the time the enemy team runs on the map, if you think about it, they're going to get sent to a gray screen, back to shop, spend their gold, so they get a built-in spend gold tempo buy. You don't. So you want to go back to base immediately to match the gold spend they just had and then run to whatever side of the map they are. Junglers, you know, if they're going top side, you go top side. If you're bot lane, just go bot lane and match them there. That way you match fire with fire and they never get a chance to get their gold spend and get a chance to run back. The worst thing to do is overstay and then let them come back with gold spend and kill you. And a lot, even in low masters, you'll see this where people die all the time from overstaying to gold spends. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. That's all I've got. I know it's kind of ranty, but these practice tool rants, really and truthfully, like, there's really no two ways to get this information across without, you know, just talking a lot. And frankly, I say it all the time. I've got a gameplay channel. I've got a Twitch stream. If you guys want flashy content, believe you me, we play a lot of damage Udyr and low masters. I can provide that for you. This is meant to be more like, all right, snappy, let's get you to masters. On to the next topic. Bam, bam. Thank you again. I hope to see you in the next one. We got a full series going through 30 to 40 of these topics lined up. We've already gone through 3 or 4. I hope to see you in the next one, and thank you again for watching. Bye.
Dang. Call me so I can make it juicy for ya.